What is happening, guys? Cowboy here, and we are back ready to continue. As you can see, we are now wearing the Fallen Knight set. Looks totally badass. And a couple things we have to do over here at firelink. So first thing we're going to be doing, of course, go give our coal over to Andre.
Oh, you have breath.
And now if you go to infuse, just looking at our weapon, you can see we now have heavy, sharp, refined, raw, fire, and poison as options. Now aside from that, there's a new NPC now here as well, and that is right here, Cirrus.
You're an unkindled, aren't you? I am Cirrus, of the Sunless Realms, former servant of the divinity. Duties we each bear, but one's duty is I doubt we've much to gain from fraternization. Blessing of the moon upon your journey.
Now, there's a lot of information still not known about this character. If you miss the Moundmaker's Covenant, I know you can go back to that bonfire and she will, like there's a sign you can grab on the ground, it summons you in, you help her fight the Moundmaker's NPC, and she calls him grandfather or something as he dies. But every time I've talked to her so far, I've had the, we don't have much to gain from fraternization. Now, that being said, if you come and you talk to her while you're part of the Rosaria's Fingers, the Red Covenant, she says, I see now you're a finger, the next time we meet it'll be as enemies. Based on her dialogue, I would assume she is in the Dark Moon Covenant, which is the original enemies of the Red, but she may also be part of the Blue Sentinels. So one thing that I haven't had a chance to test, you guys might want to try out. Obviously, just before this part, when we talked to Horus the Hushed, we were given the Blue Sentinels Covenant, so I'd suggest joining that before you come back and talking to her and seeing if that changes the dialogue. Maybe it will. I don't exactly know. When it comes to Covenant, there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been figured out yet with Covenants, just because online play is very restricted thus far. That being said, we leveled up our Vitality slightly. We're also going to pop some souls real fast, and then we're going to get one more point as well. And then we're going to continue on. Boss fight hype. Crucifixion Woods hype. Level up. Let's get my strength 25, just because it's a nice number to have. And I am like 500 short of another level, so we're going to actually get those souls real fast here. I would not recommend selling a bunch of embers, but I'm not that worried about it. I kind of rarely die on this guy. And let's get our endurance up. Beautiful. Alright, so with the 1 point in vitality, the reason for that is we can now put on our Knight's Crossbow, which you're going to want for the upcoming fight. Either way, from here we're going to head back to the... actually, we're going to head back to the Farron Keep bonfire, because we want to take down those two NPCs first. Now, these NPCs will attack you together. They're not that hard to kill. They don't have health on par with your typical NPC invader. So your best bet is to kind of just burst one down quickly. That being said, you can parry both of them, so that's also an option. That's actually what I'm going to try and go for, is parry one and then follow up with the heavy attack and see if I can take him out. Actually, while we're here, let me... just in case, so the next time I run into her, maybe that'll change the dialogue. They're over there still, so we're going to go grab this first. Was it Homeward Bone? Yep, Homeward Bone. Okay. Come on. We're buffing up. Ooh, come on, boys. Is that necessary? Man, apparently he has absurd amounts of poise when he's doing his weapon art. harder than a lot of the boss fights we've run into so far, right? See, the tricky thing here is they're not separate. If you can separate them, even for a second, to get a parry on one, things become a lot easier. Now, this one's going to be basically dead. So a little bit hectic there, but I gotta say, that was actually a really good representation of why parries are so powerful. You know, for the first roughly minute, 2 minutes I was fighting those guys, you know, it was rolling, it was trying to desperately survive, trying to get hits in. Second parries got involved, they got cleaned up extremely fast. So real fast, just because I'm sure some of you are curious, Exile Greatsword, it's actually a pretty cool weapon. The Great Club, also a really good weapon if you're going for a strength build. Just a good, bitch be good stick, if you will. And it has the Warcry buff, of course, that will boost your attack to make you hit stuff even harder. Decent choices. This one's 2416, this one's 28. Either way, we're going to continue using our Butcher's Knife. Or, excuse me, Butcher Knife. They removed the S this time around. Alright, but with them dead, we're going to go... Actually, with them dead, we're just going to hop over to the other bonfire altogether. Alright, so I actually want to show you guys how to reach this from the original bonfire, as well as get some loot. I think it's a little bit easier that way. So there's a bunch of guys. Where is our path? Okay, so this is the original path. Now, when we came in, we dropped down those rock sets over there. But if you had taken this way, coming down the original path, and then turned, see the bonfire is right there on that platform. So kind of the identifier for it is run over there, you'll see the fading soul on the ground. From the fading soul, you just take a right, and then that brings you over to the bonfire. So that's kind of the easy way to make sure you find this. Now down there, that should be our grass crest shield. Yes, it is. No, Mr. Krabs, we're not fighting you. And then if we go back up into the forest here, go past all the poison guys. Actually, no, wait. Poison guys have... I think they are protecting the Titan Knight. Yes, back here is the... No, that's the Titan Knights. Then they're protecting the shield. Either way, we're going to kill them. They're also protecting the Titan Knight. Oh. Here's our ship. Okay. So that's the majority of items for the actual kind of swamp forest portion, if you will, but we're not completely done here yet. From here, you know, we're kind of all the way back. We're going to hang on to the left. Now, you can go whichever way you prefer. I think going from the left makes this a lot easier for what we're about to do. Basically, up ahead, there's going to be some enemies that we can kill, and beneath them is an Estus shard. And the main reason we're coming around from the left side instead of just underneath is that by coming from the left, it allows us to take these guys out, whereas alternatively, they basically wait there and they try to drop down onto you when you go to grab your Estus shard. So a little bit easier to just take them out this way, and then go down and then get our shard. Right, and this should be our Ember. We have another one of these like really uppity enemies you may remember from before. There's another one sitting back there, as you can kind of see. I would suggest trying to lure this one over. Take him out solo before you get his friend involved. That'll make your life a lot less stressful. Just go back to sleep. Just go back to sleep. Down we go. Alright, now we should have a large soul right here. Go, unknown traveler soul, and then our bonfire is right here again. Alright, so that is basically all of the Crucifixion Woods. From here, if we're looking straight across, you can see that structure. That's where we're going to go next. You just want to run straight along into the hole in the wall. Now there are some mage enemies here that you're going to want to watch out for. They all have hats like this chap here. Run up, take him down. That'll make your life a lot easier because he won't be spamming spells from afar. Well, when you actually connect to attacks, that is. And our heretic staff. Okay, for those curious regarding the staff, I'm gonna kill you first. DB scaling. Okay, so from here, we're gonna go through the doorway, and we should have a crystal lizard right after this doorway over on our right. This doorway. We also have this dick. Let's see. Doorway, right crystal. Yeah. Where are you at now? There he is. Okay. Sitting there looking at my little instructions that I wrote up, and I'm like, I know there's a crystal lizard around here. Ugh. Now, even though we can't use crystal gems yet, that is what we use to infuse weapons with magic. So with them, we're gonna go. Yeah, we'll go up and we'll do this stuff first. So there's gonna be a power mage up here. The reason I'm calling him power mage is because he's casting crystal soul spears, whereas the other ones are only casting little soul darts. So take him down. And we're gonna go up this way, drop down, and get our Ring of Sacrifice. Now, for those that are coming from Dark Souls 2, Rings of Sacrifice are quite different than before. Now, when you die, the Ring of Sacrifice completely breaks. There is no repairing it. There is no getting it back. So keep that in mind. What I would personally suggest doing, which I think works quite well, is to use the ring if you die with a lot of souls on the line and you want to retrieve them. That is the best time to use the ring. So just to piece the area back together. Right here we have a message, warrior slumber ahead. Right over there is where we have the two dudes that we fought. You see an item over there. We're going to be grabbing that shortly. It's up on an elevated area. So we're going to go through here. Drop down. down. Oh no, that item's not in the elevated area. Oh, whatever. Got our golden falcon shield, and we'll run over and pick that up. Large soul. The golden falcon. I guess I overlooked the large soul before. I thought I had that in my guide to pick up earlier, but I did not see it there now. So we're going to re-enter this from there. We're not going to go over that way. That's where we fought the kind of crazy looking dudes. But they're already down, of course. So from here, we're going to go back in, and we're going to go get our sorcery guy. Now, I have 8 intelligence. Wow, that's really low. So this may not work. I think 10 intelligence is how much you need. You see this door, and it kind of looks like it will go nowhere. But you can actually follow this around and go up. And then we'll find the sorcery trainer. Let's have him try talking to me and see what he says.
How? You and should never. You have your own method. Don't let it bother you on your way. You're unkindled.
Yeah.
Oh well, it is your. Oh well.
So even running through, he's not going to join me. I believe the requirement is 10 intelligence. That is where my my dex build was at, and that build was able to recruit him. But either way, it'll send him back to Firelink Shrine. From here, we have some blue pellets. That'll give us magic resistance, which can be quite helpful in the upcoming fight. So if you want, feel free to toss those puppies on. And then looking back over... Yes, from here we have just the boss. Where's that other guy at? There he is. God, the two-handed heavy attack with the butcher's knife is so silly. Okay, so pre-boss, there's one more enemy. Another one of those power mages, if you will. But running up, you can get easy backstab on him, as I just did. Okay, so next up we have the Crystal Sage. This is basically a... he's one of Big Hat Logan's students, for those that remember Big Hat from Dark Souls 1. Now this fight has 2 phases. His first phase is he's solo like this, just casting a bunch of crystal stuff. He will do melee attacks if you get close enough to him. Looking at his attack patterns, let's see, if he doesn't go into phase 2, I'll do like an attack analysis next. Actually, let me see if I have a different shield I can put on with more magic resist, just to... it's too heavy, really. It's not much. Okay. Anyway, we'll just work on dodging it. So, as you can see, he has kind of a... what is it? Homing Crystal Soul Mass he'll do. On top of that, there's a Crystal Rain. This is a floaty orb that'll just come at you. It'll slowly seek on you, but you can't avoid it. Then, of course, the last thing he has is that kind of crystal, that crystal line that he does, which is easily avoidable enough. That actually weighs too much, so we're going in shieldless. Oh man. Once we attack him again, this fight is going to transition, and he will be creating clones of himself. So once he creates those clones, the fight can be a little bit trickier. What you have to do is, well, you can do 2 things. You can either just rush after him, or alternatively, you can kill each of the clones. Now, each of the clones only take 1 hit to die. So you can do that method if you want. Anything, throwing knife, crossbow, whatever the case is. Throwing knives work really well, since you don't have to aim them at all. Oh god, what? I have bolts on, don't I? I don't even have bolts. Jesus. Personally, I think it's a lot easier to kill the clones, just because they will keep doing Crystal Soul Spears. And getting them out of the way, it's just going to make it so that you can focus him without worrying about getting hit in the back. Use our blue bug pellet. That'll give us some more resistance. As you can see, throwing knives really helps to take out those clones. And then the crystal sage will fall. So like I said, bows will also work. If you just want to, run around and hit them, that works too. A little bit riskier since they are, shooting crystal soul spears at you. Throwing knives are probably your best bet, just because you can just run past something, lock on, chuck a knife, and then that's it. So either way, that is the boss for this area. With the bonfire lit, we're going to be on our way. Now, as I mentioned a few videos ago, this is kind of a turning point. From here, we can actually go up this way, and that'll lead to the Cathedral of the Deep, or we could go back to the Farron Keep bonfire. With that being said, before you can progress very far past the Farron Keep bonfire, you do need an item from the Cathedral of the Deep. So you can do them in whatever order you want, but I would suggest doing the Cathedral of the Deep first, just so that when you do reach the area where the item is required, you already have it. So, with that being said, we are going to travel on back. The boss soul we just got, you can get a rapier or a new spell. We'll actually show those real fast to you guys, just to keep you aware of the potential boss weapons. And then following that, we'll wrap things up, and in the next episode, we'll be getting started with the Cathedral. Okay, up we go to Ludleth. I'm actually quite curious to try out how this rapier works on a magic build. So as you can see, we have Crystal Hail, which was that spell he was doing. I actually tried this out on my other character. I felt that the tracking of it was kind of lackluster. I do feel it has some potential in PvP, just for kind of forcing people to roll around and helping to set up combos with other moves. That being said, the Crystal Sage's rapier, given this starts off EEC, I have a feeling this is going to be Ice Rapier 2.0. It also boosts item discovery, which is kind of neat, and as you can see, it has quite a bit of magic damage there as well. So I think that enchanting this with Crystal Magic Weapon will have a very strong presence in the meta later on in the game. But either way, we're going to wrap up on here, going to spend those souls, and then we will catch you guys in the next episode as we continue on.